the Great Revolt of 1857. So my students, here I have to inform you how to proceed in the topic. Actually, very simple thing. Whenever you have to deal with the topic like the Great Revolt of 1857, Revolt of 1857. So here I just inform you, in fact, how to start this topic. Suppose you have to write something on the topic, you will start with the statement. अगर आपको इस टॉपिक को स्टार्ट करना होगा तो ऐसे स्टार्ट करना कि right from the time of the foundation of British rule in Bengal in 1757 up to 1857, means that since the last 100 years, there appeared a basic contradiction in the interest of the British colonial interest and the interest of the different social classes of India, and it finally resulted into, you can say, a major outburst which we came to be characterized as the Great Revolt of 1857. मतलब आपको उसमें यह कहना है कि ब्रिटिश शासन की स्थापना के काल से ही एक तरफ ब्रिटिश औपनिवेशिक यानी कॉलोनियल ब्रिटिश औपनिवेशिक सरकार और भारत के विभिन्न सामाजिक वर्गों के हितों के बीच टकराहट शुरू हुई और अंत में इसका नतीजा था, इसका परिणाम था एक 1857 का महाविद्रोह. Here, as the introduction I have already given to you, better to assimilate the introduction whenever you have to write over the Great Revolt of 1857. With the gradual establishment of British rule in India by the 18th century, the interest of various social groups came in conflict with the British colonial rule. As a result, a number of small-scale revolts and movements were organized for the next 100 years. In the end, after 100 years, the Great Revolt of 1857 occurred, which was much larger in its geographical reach, scale and intensity from the previous revolt. In fact, it was the end result of discontentment and aggression accumulated over a period of time among the Indian masses. Just my students, this is actually a formal beginning or just an introduction. लेकिन मेरा अपना मानना है, I believe कि so far as you are having some story elements, means कि how did the events unfold themselves, how did it progress, what was the nature of the revolt, etc. So about the revolts, at least you need some sort of a story or some storyteller. So I am first playing the role of a storyteller and then I will work as a teacher कि how to write the answer. देखिए, मैं ऐसा मानता हूं कि कोई ऐसी चीज होती है जिसमें अगर आपको थोड़ी सी कहानी का तत्व होता है पता, तो आप ज्यादा इंटरेस्ट से पढ़ते हो और फिर उसको क्वेश्चन आंसर के फॉर्म में ऑर्गेनाइज करना हमारे लिए आसान हो जाता है. सो आई एम जस्ट ब्रीफिंग द स्टोरी व्हाट हैपेंस. Actually, the British soldiers, or not British soldiers, you can say British Indian soldiers. In fact, the backbone of the British Empire was the Bengal army, which consisted of 1,39,000 soldiers. Okay. Dalhousie, who came to India, so Dalhousie introduced so many reforms. So one of the major reforms of Dalhousie was to transfer the headquarters of the Bengal army from Bengal to Meerut. Meerut at that time the northwest province and today we can say modern UP. मतलब जब डलहौजी आया तो उसने बंगाल सेना में टोटल 1,39,000 सैनिक थे, तो उसका मुख्यालय को ट्रांसफर करके वो मेरठ ले गया और वही मेरठ उसका हेडक्वार्टर था. तो इसलिए अगर मेरठ में रिवोल्ट हो रहा है तो you should not take it otherwise. It belongs to other sorts of army. It belongs to Bengal army. Bengal army is the name. So actually here you know that basically the Bengal army or any other British Indian soldiers, they were operating a rifle and a gun, you can say, that was known as earlier brown bass. It was the brown bass gun, but recently the British introduced a new types of gun and that is known as the infield rifle. So this infield rifle, it is having some sort of a specialty. In this rifle, you can say some cartridges were fielded, and this cartridge before you can say filling in the rifle, it needs to be cut through the teeth. It was, you can say, covered. So it was covered, so that its cover has to be, you can say, peeled off with the support of the teeth. मतलब वो ऐसा कार्टिज, ऐसा कारतूस होता था उसमें कि आपको दांत से काटना पड़ता तब आप राइफल में भर पाते. एंड यू नो कि इट वाज अ बेसिक मतलब चैलेंज, एंड एज इट शुड बी इजी टू peel it out, So that's why its part was greased. मतलब इसमें थोड़ा सा इसको मुलायम बनाने के लिए there was the use of some sort of fat. So there was a rumor in the market it has been greased with the fat of the cow and the pigs. माने इसमें गाय और सुअर की चर्बी लगी हुई है. So it created a, you can say, a flutter among, and created, you can say, a great upheaval among the, you can say, soldiers. So gradually at the forest fire the news spread and the soldiers were quite in a fix. They started to inquire about the matter, ki what is the actual situation. So some critics believe that it was not simply a rumor, it was having the grain of reality, because such factory was traced out at a place in Calcutta that is called Damdama. मतलब ऐसा पाया गया केवल अफवाह नहीं थी, इसमें वास्तविकता भी थी, और इस तरह की एक फैक्ट्री दमदमा में एग्जिस्ट करती थी. So my students, it was going to disturb soldiers. It was quite intolerable. What happened? So initiative was first taken by and a regiment of Bengal Army that was called 19. You can say 19 Infantry Battalion. That was called 19 यानी 19. तो पहला जो रेजिमेंट था जिसने रिफ्यूज किया उसको यूज करने का, उसका 19 इन्फेंट्री बटालियन. But very secretly, the government just, you can say, dismissed it and covered the fact. But same happened in 34 Infantry of Bengal Army that was at Barakpur in March 1857, and it was this time, you can say, Mangal Pandey. And Mangal Pandey became so much furious that even he killed 2 of his officers. So later he was awarded, court martial, and he was blown out through a cannon. मतलब बाद में मंगल पांडे को तोप से उड़ा दिया गया, उसको सख्त सजा दे दी गई. But if someone is going to ask you कि from where this great revolt of 1857, you can say, from which place did the great revolt of 1857 start, you have not to choose the place Barakpur, rather you have to choose from Meerut, because the continuous conflict started from Meerut onwards. So Meerut is the place, and that happened in May. Actually, what is the case of Meerut? I have to discuss with you. In Meerut, there were 3rd Native Cavalry. 3rd Native Cavalry मतलब तीसरी घुड़सवार सेना. So there were 90 corps in the 3rd Native Cavalry, and 85 corps refused to use the greased cartridges. उसमें कि 85 जो corps है उसने greased cartridges use करने से मना कर दिया. So this 3rd Native Cavalry was quickly dismissed. It was demobilized. And on 9th May, 85 corps were given, or you can say awarded the court martial, and punishment was very harsh. That was 10 years rigorous jail. When the soldiers, they were just, you can say, brought to the jail from the court martial court. So they started slogan shouting. They were provoking the other soldiers ki what type of important people you are, what you are just doing you are working as the slaves to these British, they are polluting your religion, etc., etc. So it became inciting for other soldiers. मतलब उन्होंने चिल्लाना शुरू किया कि तुम लोग कितने कैसे नपुंसक हो, इनकी सेवा कर रहे हो, ये तुम्हारे धर्म को भ्रष्ट कर रहे हैं. उनमें एक तरह की बाकी सोल्जर्स में भी एक प्रतिक्रिया, एक मन ही मन शुरू हो गई. In the evening, some of the soldiers just went to the local market in order to bide the time, or in order to, you can say, do the time pass, because they are mentally disturbed after observing such, you can say, unpleasant events. So in the meantime, the women in the market, so they almost provoked them. What type of persons you are? Your friends have been put into jail and you have just come into this market in order to, you can say, make amusements. What type of persons you are? So after that, they became too much furious and they just came into action. They returned to their barracks, snatched the guns from the, you can say, the guns treasury, and then started to kill the officers, and for some hours in the Meerut towns as well as in the barracks, they targeted the British officers and the whatever Britishers were there. एंड आफ्टर डूइंग दिस, मतलब वहां पर उन्होंने आसपास में जितने ब्रिटिश थे उनको मार डाला और बड़े फ्यूरियस हो गए जो मेरठ के सोल्जर्स थे. एंड देन ओवरनाइट, बिकॉज आफ्टर डूइंग द when the incident happened, they targeted the British officers. So after that they became relaxed. Yeah, we have done the job. But after that they started to think from here to where, and we have already done the crime in the eyes of the law. We have committed the most heinous crime. For that we can be awarded the death sentence. What will happen to us अब now? What should be the future course of action? अब उनको पता नहीं था कि फ्यूचर कोर्स ऑफ एक्शन क्या होना चाहिए. सो दे मूव टू दिल्ली एंड ओवरनाइट ऑन फुट, बिकॉज देयर वेर कैवलरी फोर्स एज वेल. So cavalry force were just, cavalry soldiers were just, you can say, riding on the horses. So through horse they moved towards Delhi, and the infantry were on the foot. They moved from Meerut to Delhi, and overnight they moved, and in the early morning they reached Delhi. And in forcefully they, you can say, penetrated Red Fort. Bahadur Shah Jafar was caught unawares. He was, he was not enthusiastic for taking leadership. Rather he can say he was a reluctant leader. मतलब बहादुर शाह जफर धोखे में पकड़ा गया. उधर से सोल्जर्स आए और जब तक वो संभल पाता उसकी सिक्योरिटी, तब तक रेड फोर्ट में घुस गए और एक तरह से उन्होंने बहादुर शाह जफर को हॉस्टेज बना लिया. अब बहादुर शाह जफर जिस मुकाम पर पहुंच गया था, इफ ही माइट हैव रिफ्यूज्ड टू कंप्लाई विद देयर सजेशन, in that case the soldiers might have killed him. So he was just in a fix. अब उसके पास कोई चारा नहीं था. So in this way you can say Red Fort became the center of operation and Mughal emperor became the symbol of unity. For 1 or 2 weeks there remained to be quiet, but after that you can say it spread to the regional centers like Bareilly, Farrukhabad. On 4th June, Awadh, Bridges, you can say Hazrat Begum, Hazrat Mahal. She was the widow of, not widow, wife of this Bahadur Shah, the Nawab of Awadh, Wajid Ali Shah, who was, he was dethroned 1 year back, you may recall. So his Begum, so she raised the banner of revolt, and she declared Birjis Qadar as the next Nawab of Awadh forcefully and captured Awadh. In this way, you can say Kanpur, Nana Sahib, whose pension was stopped. So even the Nana Shah was equally disturbed. Nana Sahib, his assistant was, at that time, Tatya Tope, Rango Bapu, etc. So all were with them. So in this way, you can say it spread just like the forest fire and in different regions. So British were caught unawares and British were not, you can say, ready for the situation. So for time being or for some months, the British rule almost became non-existent in the many parts of India. मतलब ब्रिटिश को कुछ भी अंदाज नहीं था कि भाई इस तरह से ये जंगल की आग की तरह फैल जाएगा, और कुछ क्षेत्र में तो ब्रिटिश रूल वर्चुअली समाप्त हो गया था, वो एग्जिस्ट ही नहीं कर रहा था. But 2 things favored British. One thing was actually Crimean War was going on in Europe at that time. Crimean War was a very famous war. I will give a reference to the Crimean War whenever I teach you the European part of history. So fortunately for the British, Crimean War ended, and the British soldiers already returned from Western, you can say, European front. एक फेवरेबल सिचुएशन ब्रिटिश के लिए हुआ कि क्रीमिया का युद्ध समाप्त हो गया और यूरोप से ब्रिटिश सेना लौट गई. And the second favorable situation for the British was the British were at that time, or British soldiers were at that time led by, the very able and very competent British commanders like General Neil, General Nicholson, General Hudson, General Heroes. So these were the very competent military officers, and they could, you can say, very tactfully manage the situation, and they could overcome the challenges the British faced at that time. तो बहुत सारे वहाँ जनरल्स उनके पास थे, निकोलसन था, नील था, हडसन था, यूरोज था. ये सब ने स्थिति को शीघ्रता से संभाला. और अगर आप इसके अलावा हमसे पूछेंगे कोई तीसरा कॉज बताइए, तो वन फेवरेबल कॉज वाज कि इट इज रियली अ मैटर ऑफ सरप्राइज, बिकॉज यू पीपल आर वेल अवेयर ऑफ द फैक्ट दैट जस्ट 8 years बैक Punjab was defeated and annexed by the British, but still the Sikh regiment remained loyal to the British. And throughout the Great Revolt of 1857, the Sikh and Gorkha regiment If the Sikh and Gorkha regiment might have turned to be hostile against the British, what could happen to the British rule you cannot imagine. Then British were sure to lose the war then, you know. But Gorkha and Sikh regiment saved the British in India. And here my point is that then the British just, you can say, counter-attacked on the revolutionaries in different centers. So General Nicholson first tried to capture Delhi, but General Nicholson was killed and he could soldiers. Do you believe what did he just, you can say, tell them? He told them, my Sikh soldiers, recall your Guru Tegh Bahadur, and it was just in front of Lal Killa, you find Chandni Chowk, and in Chandni Chowk, near Chandni Chowk, you will find there is a Sheesh Ganj Gurudwara. It was at the Sheesh Ganj Gurudwara, Guru Tegh Bahadur was beheaded by Aurangzeb. So they gave the reference ki your Guru, 9th Guru, Guru Tegh Bahadur was assassinated there, and it was at that time that there was the prophecy of your 9th Guru. A time will come ki my progeny, my successors will come there and they will recapture this Red Fort and expel you people from this Red Fort. So they will conquer your Delhi. So my Sikh soldiers, now time has come to take revenge from the British. अब आप समझ सकते हैं कि कितने भड़काऊ बयान उसने दिए, जबकि ऐसा गुरु तेग बहादुर ने नहीं कहा था। कि गुरु तेग बहादुर जो 90 गुरु थे, उसने यहाँ शहादत ली थी, टुक मार्टिडम, और उन्होंने औरंगजेब को चेतावनी दी थी कि एक टाइम आएगा कि मेरे ही बाल बच्चे आएंगे और तुम्हारे लाल किला पर कब्जा करेंगे। एंड देन द सिक्स सोल्जर्स बिकेम सो मच प्रोवोकेटेड कि दे वर्चुअली बिकेम एक्सेसिव एग्रेसिव एंड रिकैप्चर्ड दिल्ली, and a large number of Bengal soldiers were severely killed. Just in the nearby region, I am giving you the lecture from North Delhi, and here you find that it is in the nearby region. There is a jheel that is called Khuni Jheel, and as there is the story, thousands of Bengal soldiers were killed and thrown into the jheel, that is in the ridge area. And even today you can see in the local people there is the misconception this is the haunted place because in the night so many ghosts are moving. तो मतलब वो इतने सारे सोल्जर्स वहां पर मारे गए और दिल्ली को रिकैप्चर किया. Likewise you can say General Heroes, he demolished Jhansi first, and Queen you can say Queen, that is Lakshmi Bai. She fought very bravely at Jhansi also, but finally you can see that the British were having the very latest weapons and their cannons were very competent and very, you can say, efficient cannons. So finally with the support of the cannons, his forts were demolished and she had to flee from this Jhansi. But fortunately for her, 20,000 soldiers from the Sindhia in Gwalior, they defected to the side of लक्ष्मी बाई. मतलब लक्ष्मी बाई ने तो झांसी लूज कर दिया था क्योंकि झांसी पर जनरल हीरोज ने कब्जा कर लिया था, लेकिन तभी जो ग्वालियर का सिंधिया था उसके 20,000 सोल्जर्स थे, वो लक्ष्मी बाई की तरफ डिफेक्ट कर गई. तो डिफेक्ट कर गई तो उसको 20,000 सोल्जर्स मिल गए और फिर ग्वालियर को उसने बेस बना के देन लक्ष्मी बाई कंटिन्यू द स्ट्रगल फर्दर and she fought very bravely and she continued the struggle for a long time. She became a symbol of a major revolt against the British. And even today you will find a statue of Rani just near the Gwalior fort, and she is given the credit that she has made her horse jump from the top of the fort. But there you can see his horse was injured and finally even she was killed. So even today you will find the statue of Lakshmi Bai not in Jhansi but in Gwalior. तो फिर जनरल हीरोज ने उनको ये कर दिया. और जनरल हडसन था, तो जनरल हडसन after capturing Red Fort, he captured 2 of the sons of Bahadur Shah Zafar and 1 grandson of Bahadur Shah Zafar, and all 3 were caught up and arrested, and they were carried by General Hudson towards Humayun tomb. Humayun tomb, because Bahadur Shah Zafar was himself vacating Red Fort. He was staying at Humayun Fort for his safety. So Humayun Fort you can say. So he moved towards Humayun Fort, and it was on the way there is called Shahid Darwaja. Khuni Darwaja. So there he shot to death his 2 sons and 1 grandson and chopped off their head, and you can say putting the head on a, you can say, plate, and just as a platter he placed before Bahadur Shah Jafar. Now can you imagine that कि how tormenting this incident was for him? मतलब उनके दोनों बेटे और उसके पोते को गोली मार दी, उसके सर को धड़ से अलग कर दिया, एक थाल में सजा के जाके बहादुर शाह जफर को प्रेजेंट किया, and then Bahadur Shah Jafar was tried and he was finally deported from India to Rangoon in Burma. Here I have to share my students, because some of you, if you are purely from English medium, so you may not understand Hindi, but some of you may understand Hindi as well. Actually, I am using the Hindi term in order to give support to the students who are coming from the English background. So I just trying to, and I think now even the students from English background may be a bit comfortable, as I hope. Am I? तो मतलब कि मैं आपको इसीलिए कुछ हिंदी भाषा बोल देता हूं, लेकिन मैं मानता हूं कि आप में से कोई प्योर इंग्लिश वाले होंगे जो हिंदी नहीं समझते हो, तो उनको भी ऑफेंडेड होने की जरूरत नहीं है, क्योंकि मैं पहले इंग्लिश में बोल देता हूं फिर हिंदी में बोलता हूं। अब मैं एक शेर आपको बता रहा हूं जो इंग्लिश में नहीं है, हिंदी में है, क्योंकि वो था, वो मशहूर शायर था और उर्दू की शायरी करता, उर्दू का शेर लिखता था। मतलब हियर आई हैव टू शेयर विथ यू माय स्टूडेंट्स, मुगल एम्पेरर Babur came to India. So Babur was attracted to the riches of India, but Babur was not having any love for India or Indian climate. He was a great, even in Tujuke-Babri, he criticized Indian climate, Indian architecture, even Indian women, they are not beautiful, they are ugly, he told. And everything Indian he didn't like. And his wish was, last wish, if whenever I will die, so my dead body should be buried at Kabul, not in Hindustan, Kabul. He was having his heart in Kabul, not in Hindustan. It was the first Mughal emperor. But my students, can you believe that the Mughal dynasty was so indigenized by Akbar, and the last Mughal emperor, he was Bahadur Shah Jafar, his wish was to die in India. मतलब कि बाबर भारत में नहीं, हिंदुस्तान में नहीं मरना चाहता, और हिंदुस्तान के प्रति उसको कोई प्यार नहीं था, न जलवायु से था, न यहाँ के लोगों से था, न यहाँ के आर्किटेक्चर स्थापत्य से था, मतलब यहाँ के मोन्यूमेंट से। वो मानता था कि वो अच्छा नहीं है, और वो उसका विश था कि हम काबुल में जाकर मरे। लेकिन अकबर ने किस तरह से देशीकरण किया मुगल डायनेस्टी को, कि जो अंतिम रूलर था बहादुर शाह जफर, उसकी दिल इच्छा थी हिंदुस्तान में मरूं। And whenever he was deported to Rangoon, so he was a shair, so he just composed a couplet, a sher. I have to share with you people. I am seeking pardon from those students who are purely from English medium, and if they find difficulty in Hindi, because I cannot take it translated and get it translated, because ये थोड़ा शेर है। मतलब उसने लिखा कि लगता नहीं है दिल मेरा उजरे दियार में, किसकी बनी है आल में ना पायदार में। माने आसमान में किसकी बनी है, माने आलम। लगता नहीं है दिल मेरा उजरे दियार में, किसकी बनी है आल में ना पायदार में। बुलबुल को, बुलबुल पक्षी होती है, बुलबुल को ना बागवान से, बागवान मतलब माली, गार्डनर, बुलबुल को ना बागवान से ना सैयद से है गिला, किस्मत में कैद थी लिखी फसले बहार में। मतलब किस्मत में कैद लिखी थी तो मुझे जाना पड़ा। उम्री दराज मांग के लाए थे 4 दिन, दो आरजू में कट गए 2 इंतजार में। है कितना बदनसीब जफर दफन के लिए, 2 गज जमीन ना मिली कुएं यार में। अब कैन यू इमेजिन दैट कि इट वॉज द लास्ट मुगल एम्पेयर हु वाज जस्ट क्राइंग फॉर अ प्लेस और क्राइंग फॉर हिज टॉम erected in Hindustan, but his tomb is still erected in Rangoon. And you find here his tomb was built in Rangoon, and when Prime Minister Modi visited Burma, I am recalling 3 to 4 years back, so he just went there to visit his tomb of Bahadur Shah Zafar. So this is the indigenization of Mughals. So today if someone is putting a question mark that Mughals are the foreigners, so it is, quite अनजस्टिफाइड टू मेक सच ए स्टेटमेंट कि मुगल विदेशी थे, ऐसा कहना उचित नहीं. So this is the point. अब now Lucknow, Begum Hazrat Mahal, even she fought for 2 years, but finally it was General Campbell who reconquered Lucknow, and you can say she has to vacate Lucknow and she has to move to Nepal. Two you can say rebels were such who were not caught up by the British. One was Nana Sahib. He also, you can escape to Nepal, and because with Nepal the British were not having any, you can say, extradition treaty, so the Nepalis and the government of Nepal could not send anyone to India. So it was the safe haven. Even today, for the large number of criminals, you know, ki Nepal is the safe haven. And then Begum Hazrat Mahal, even she escaped to Nepal. Or Tatope, Lakshmibai, all were killed, you know, one by one, or, you know, gradually. And some were just caught up and put to death. The Jamindar of Jagdishpur, Kuwar Singh, he was seriously injured and he succumbed to injury. मतलब उनको घायल होकर वो मर गए. तो इस तरह से gradually up to 1858 it subsided, and with the British success. So this is the story. I think a story part should be slightly clear. Then only you can take interest into this whole of event. Now, as a teacher, I am coming from the academic point of view, because a story part should be clear to you. अब आप लोगों ने स्टोरी सुना तो घटनाक्रम कैसे हुआ कुछ पता चल गया होगा. अब इसको हम एग्जाम पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से क्रिटिकली एनालाइज करते हैं. सो लेट अस प्रोसीड नाउ. अंकुर, ऑल आर ओके? अब here you find कि in 1857, my students, Great Revolt of 1857. So my students, here I am talking about the cause. Causes, you can say. Causes. My causes, my students, here I have to share something. You might have gone through my study material, even that is in the form of the PDF form. But I believe that you might have gone through that. Even those students who are coming from English side, so they are also supposed to write in English there. So the English version is already there, and that will be useful for you. You may go through it, you will be clear. Here I am doing some sort of experiment. In fact, you know, Irfan Habib has explained, without giving the name of Irfan Habib, I have mentioned about the causes there. Irfan Habib has actually given a very interesting interpretation of the causes of the Great Revolt 1857. So this diagram will just inform you. That is free trade. Basically, Irfan Habib is a Marxist historian. So Irfan Habib just tried to link all the causes through the phenomena of free trade. फ्री ट्रेड मतलब मुक्त व्यापार से इरफान हबीब ने उसके सारे कारणों को जोड़ने का प्रयत्न किया. बड़ा अच्छा इंटरेस्टिंग इंटरप्रिटेशन दिया है. आप देखिए, मैं आपको भी समझ में आ जाएगा. इफ यू विल फाइंड डिफिकल्टी, आई एम हियर टू हेल्प यू. एक्चुअली फ्री ट्रेड, अब यू कैन आस्क मी कि व्हाट इज फ्री ट्रेड, सो आई हैव टू मेक यू क्लियर. इधर से नहीं दिखेगा, मैं आई एम टेकिंग इट हियर. अब you may a bit curious ki what is free trade. So previously we have already done the topic like colonialism, and we have talked about the 3 stages of colonialism, you may recall. One stage is, you know, that is mercantile phase, then industrial phase, then financial phase. 3 stages you have covered. But my students, here I have to inform you that when Karl Marx made the study of colonialism earlier, he has divided it in 2 parts only. One is called, one stage was monopoly trade and another stage was free trade. मतलब मैं आपको बताना चाहता हूं कि आपने जैसे उपनिवेशवाद के 3 चरण किए, वाणिज्यिक चरण, औद्योगिक चरण और वित्तीय चरण. लेकिन कार्ल मार्क्स ने जो शुरू में स्टडी किया था, 2 ही चरण बताया था. उसने कहा था एक एकाधिकारवादी पूंजीवाद, दैट इज कॉल्ड mercantile monopoly, you can say capitalism. एकाधिकारवादी पूंजीवाद मतलब monopoly capitalism, and the second one the free trade, and both corresponded to, मतलब जिसको वो एकाधिकारवादी पूंजीवाद या monopoly capitalism कहता है, that corresponded to the mercantile phase of colonialism, and what he says the free trade, that is the industrial phase of colonialism. And about financial phase of colonialism, he was silent because up to his period research was not done. Later Lenin done the research, who was his disciple, so he did the research on financial phase. So later there was a Indian Marxist, not Indian, British, you can say, Rajni Pamdat. And Rajni Pamdat from British origin, so he explained it further and he added the third phase, financial phase, and then just changed the nomenclature, mercantile phase, industrial phase and financial phase. मतलब मार्क्स ने तो 2 ही चरण कहा था, रजनी पामदत्त ने इसको 3 चरण में बांटा, उसको कहा वाणिज्यिक चरण, औद्योगिक चरण और वित्तीय चरण. So my students, what you know as the free trade, so that free trade is the term given by Karl Marx and it corresponded to the industrial phase of colonialism. So sum total आप अपने दिमाग में रख लीजिए, industrial phase of colonialism. So Irfan Habib just explained. What is the way of explaining? I have to make you clear. He told that actually as the result of free trade, here the political impact. Any political impact firstly. You come to know, as the result of the free trade, there was unrestricted expansion and displacement of the kings and nawab. Displacements of the king and nawab. मतलब फ्री ट्रेड एक्चुअली उनका ये कहना है कि उनकी जो ब्रिटिश ने जो मुक्त व्यापार की नीति का मतलब इंडस्ट्रियल फेज ऑफ कॉलोनियलिज्म की 1813 का चार्टर ला के हमारा दरवाजा खोल दिया, जो मैंने आपको लॉर्ड हेस्टिंग से डलहौजी तक बताया था, याद होगा. तो दे हैव ओपन्ड द मार्केट कंप्लीटली एंड इन ऑर्डर टू एक्सपैंड द ब्रिटिश ट्रेड इन इंडिया, ब्रिटिश प्रेफर टू bring more and more region under the direct control through imperialist expansion, unrestricted expansion. So every expansion meant, or you can say every annexation means a displacement of the kings and nawabs, his officers and soldiers. So disbanded soldiers as well as the unemployed officers along with the king might rise into revolt against the British. तो आप देखते हो कि 1857 के रिवोल्ट में एक बड़ा सा एलिमेंट है जो रेस्टोरेटिव है. Who are they? They are displaced kings and nawabs, and displacement of the kings and nawab became possible due to free trade policy to bring more and more regions under the direct control from Hastings to Dalhousie, you know. So this is the first one point he mentioned. Second one point, you find the economic impact. My students, as the economic impact I have already discussed with you, in fact the policy of free trade led to the decline of handicraft industries in India. And as there was the decline of handicraft industries in India, you know, as there was the decline of the handicraft industries in India, you know, so lakhs of artisans were rendered unemployed. Lakhs of artisans were rendered unemployed. And it was the unemployed elements, you can say, decline of handicrafts led to decline of handicrafts led to the unemployment of lacks of artisans. So even the artisans participated in the Great Revolt in the larger number due to this phenomena. So this phenomena was also related to the free trade. Point 2. Social. My students, already I have taught you the industrial phase of colonialism, so you are well aware of the fact that it was during this period that British consciously intervened into the socio-religious affairs of India, socio-cultural affairs of India. For example, you will come to know that the British emphasized social reforms, okay, and cultural activism. Cultural activism. I think you people may recall, was it having any relationship with the free trade? Yes, definitely. Because you know, basically the demand of the free trade was the expansion of the British market, and British market might have expanded if there could have been the birth of a new generation of Indians which should be taste and which should bear the taste and temperament of a Britishers. Only they could work as the potential purchasers of the British, you can say Western products. So my point is that it was due to the free trade. So even the abolition of sati system, you know, the Widow Remarriage Act, you know, from 1813 onwards, Christian missionaries were given the freedom to, you can say, spread their religion. मतलब हमने आपको बताया था, याद करिए कि जब इकोनॉमी, जैसे इकोनॉमी वाले में तो मैंने बताया कि भाई जो उनके ब्रिटिश उन्होंने जो फ्री ट्रेड पॉलिसी अपनाई तो बहुत सारे जो शिल्पी कारीगर थे बेरोजगार हो गए, उन्होंने रिवोल्ट में हिस्सा लिया। सोशल फील्ड में मैंने बताया कि उनको बाजार चाहिए था, तो वो जानबूझ के सामाजिक क्षेत्र में उन्होंने सुधार लाया ताकि उससे भारत में अंग्रेजी शिक्षा को, इंग्लिश एजुकेशन को प्रोत्साहन मिले और भारतीयों का एक ऐसा वर्ग पैदा हो जिनका आकर्षण ब्रिटिश वस्तुओं के प्रति हो। तो बहुत सारे सुधार किए। आप याद करिए 1813 में उन्होंने ईसाई मिशनरियों को भी धर्म प्रसार की अनुमति दे दी। इन 1813 दे अलाउड द क्रिश्चियन मिशनरीज टू ऑपरेट इन इंडिया ओपनली। बिफोर 1813 even Christian missionaries were restricted. So in this way you can say, but you know one thing, Indians are having a very different type of mentality. If you are making intervention into their political affairs, they could tolerate. But if they are going to making any sort of intervention in their socio-religious affairs, so in order to protect their deen and dharam, they might rise against you. वो अपने दीन और धर्म की रक्षा के लिए तुम्हारे अगेंस्ट में, which happened the Great Revolt of 1857. Yes. Because Bengal, there was the English spread of English education earlier in Bengal. And for your kind information, Shiv, in Great Revolt of 1857, the Bengal almost remained quiet. I am talking about the Bengal army. The Bengal army does not mean Bengal. It was the name. But the army and soldiers were recruited from the northern Bihar and you can say eastern UP. And for your kind information, Shiv, in Bengal army, 1,39,000 soldiers were there, and 75,000 soldiers came from Awadh alone. तो आप ये मत समझिए बंगाल आर्मी का मतलब है कि बंगाल रिवोल्ट में आगे रहा। बंगाल तो शांत था। तो there is a statement कि under the zamindars of Bengal, Bengal remained quiet. So, Khurda uprising, that was in Odisha. It was, you find a series of revolts, peasants revolts, the local revolts, the tribal revolts. There are the 100, 200, 500 revolts, that is innumerable in number. So Khurda was one of them. It is another thing that Prime Minister has characterized it as the, you know, yes. No. Who? Gaurav, you have to dispel the myth. And it means that Gaurav, you have not seriously gone through my study material. It was the old research which is trying to prove that the Great Revolt of 1857 was the phenomenon of northern and central India alone. And now on the basis of the latest research, 3 to 4 years back, it has almost been clear. It has spread to Madras, it has spread to Malabar, Karnataka, Pune and Kolhapur. So South India remained to be peaceful. This myth has already been dispelled. मतलब दक्षिण भारत में रिवोल्ट का प्रभाव नहीं पड़ा, ये अवधारणा बहुत पहले तो नहीं, मतलब रिसेंटली खंडित हो गई. For that, who? Asutosh. Asutosh, you are supposed to read the Indian culture. Whenever I will teach you Indian culture, I will make you point clear. In Hinduism, there is no question of, you can say, this sort of, you can say, forceful spread of the religion. That was famous in Abrahami religion. Abrahami religion means that is the Judaism, means Yahudi, Christianity and Islam. There was the definite a code of conduct, there is a specific code of conduct. In Munda Rebellion, there is not any notable women in the Munda Rebellion, but in Great Revolt of 1857, I will cite some names of the women. But in case of Munda Rebellion, you will not find any notable name of women. Normal, you can say in tribal life, you can say women are enjoying the better condition than an agrarian society. So in the tribal society, you can say, so obviously you can say a large number of women might have participated, but they are not the notable women, you can say. I will discuss about the nature. Let us proceed now, because you are having the limited time, you know. Should I now move, Mr. Ankur? We shall actually, whenever I will discuss about the nature, then I will deal with this, Vishal. So please have patience. In social, now you can see that is military. So in the military factor, I have informed you that Bengal Army as a backbone of, in Bengal Army you can say as a backbone of backbone of British imperialist policy. A Bengal Army remained to be a backbone of the British imperialist policy. Here I have to discuss with you. British imperialist policy, it was just a backbone. Matlab, there is a complaint, actually Irfan Havi has given a very interesting information that Bengal, the soldiers of Bengal Army remained to be one of the busiest army in the world except Napoleon's army, because they were most of the time they were in the battlefield. बंगाल आर्मी के जो सोल्जर्स होते थे वो बेसिकली बहुत ज़्यादा फील्ड में रहते थे, मतलब वो बहुत एक्टिव सोल्जर्स थे और बहुत व्यस्त रहते थे. एंड कहोगे भाई इसका फ्री ट्रेड से क्या रिलेशन है, आपके मन में होगा, यस, बिकॉज द डिमांड ऑफ फ्री ट्रेड वॉज द एक्सपेंशन ऑफ द ब्रिटिश एम्पायर एंड बंगाल आर्मी वॉज जस्ट worked as the backbone of the British imperialist policy, means the expansion of the British Empire. And Bengal Army not simply worked for the expansion of British Empire within India, but even in the neighborhood like Afghanistan and Burma. They were the main tool for the enforcement of the free trade policy. But the Bengal Army, soldiers of Bengal Army were having the serious reservation. In fact, the British government or the company's government used to follow the policy of discrimination against the Indian Sipahis or Indian soldiers in comparison to the British and European soldiers. मतलब बंगाल आर्मी ब्रिटिश साम्राज्यवादी नीति या मुक्त व्यापार की नीति का पालन करने का एक महत्वपूर्ण स्तंभ थे. उनको बस शिकायत इस बात से थी कि हम, क्योंकि उसके बारे में इरफान हबीब कहते हैं कि नेपोलियन की सेना के बाद सबसे व्यस्त सेना थी दुनिया की, क्योंकि हमेशा बैटलफील्ड में रहती थी ब्रिटिश के साम्राज्यवादी आकांक्षा को पूरा करने के लिए, लेकिन उनके साथ भेदभाव किया जाता था ब्रिटिश और यूरोपियन सैनिकों की तुलना में. So this was the matter of discontentment for the soldiers. There you will just come to know. And it was the one. And up now the fifth point, I will not going horizontally, but rather I will prefer vertically. You will go through my study material vertically. So that is the demand for literate. Demand for literate and educated soldiers. Demand for literate and educated soldiers. What is this? I have to make you clear. Actually, there was the basic demand for the literate soldiers and educated soldiers. मतलब ब्रिटिश चाहते थे कि भाई, अब देखो, the demand for literate and educated soldiers led to my students, that led to another sort of experiment, you know. एक्चुअली देखो, ब्रिटिश की चाहत यह थी कि हमारे पास ऐसे लिटरेट सोल्जर्स हों, कुछ पढ़े लिखे सोल्जर्स हों जो कम से कम ड्रिल के नियमों का पालन कर सके. सो दे वेर इन सर्च ऑफ द लिटरेट सोल्जर्स. एंड माय स्टूडेंट्स, इन सर्च ऑफ द लिटरेट सोल्जर्स, बेसिकली दे एम्प्लॉयड द हाई कास्ट हिंदूज, भूमिहार ब्राह्मण्स एंड राजपूत फ्रॉम नॉर्दर्न यूपी, sorry, at that time the northern northwest province, मतलब in present northern UP and eastern बिहार. तो ये उनकी कोशिश यह थी कि हम ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा सब मतलब शिक्षित लोगों को और पढ़े लिखे लोगों को सेना में रखें जो कम से कम सेना के नियमों को समझ सके. इसी क्रम में उन्होंने उन सोल्जर्स को एम्प्लॉय किया जो सोल्जर्स कहीं ना कहीं हाई कास्ट हिंदू से थे, सवर्ण लोगों से थे. And it was the fact that the issue of greased cartridges flared up so much so. So the issue of greased cartridges flared up so much so. It was due to this fact, you can say, the issue of greased cartridges, you can say, spread just like the forest fire. It was due to this factor. So that is another thing. Because if they could have come from the lower caste, so might be they could not have shown so much caste sensitivity. But as they were coming from the Savarna caste, so they developed the excessive caste sensitivity, and that led to the flaring of the revolt on the issue of greased cartridges. मतलब अगर वो निम्न जाति से आए होते तो शायद इतना रिएक्ट नहीं करते, लेकिन वो ब्राह्मण्स वगैरह थे और जब चरी वाले कारतूस की बात आई तो उनके लिए तो बहुत बड़ी मुश्किलें आ गई. इन दिस वे माय स्टूडेंट्स, देयर कैन बी कॉजेज. अब नाउ आशुतोष या सम ऑफ द यू have asked you why did, so I am going to discuss about the nature. And can I hope that you, my students, you might have gone through my study material, because there I have given a very clear picture in your PDF form. So you are requested to once again go through my study material after attending the class, and I think you will be crystal clear on this basis. मतलब आप एक बार स्टडी मटेरियल से होकर फिर दोबारा उसको रिवाइज करना, आपको पूरी क्लैरिटी आ जाएगी. Here I have to discuss with you कि what happens. Actually, now you have to discuss about the nature. Whenever there is the question of nature, first of all you will raise the issue. It became disputable due to the lack of sufficient source material. लैक ऑफ सफिशिएंट सोर्स मटेरियल मतलब इसके अध्ययन में एक बहुत बड़ी कमी रही, आवश्यक अध्ययन साक्ष्यों की कमी. Actually, the revolutionary, or you can say the mutineers, for the fear of being caught up by the authority later, they destroyed their documents. Number one. Number two, many of the mutineers were illiterate or not educated. So whatever they declared, so they just, you can say, exchange their ideas, views, and the orders orally, and they didn't use the written source. तो बहुत कुछ तो उन्होंने मौखिक आदेश के माध्यम से इधर से उधर किया और उन्होंने लिखित साक्ष्य नहीं रखा. तो we became almost totally depended over the government archives as the source material for the study of the Great Revolt of 1857. तो हम लोग क्या हुआ कि सरकारी अभिलेखागार पर उसका जो सरकारी दस्तावेज है उस पर डिपेंड हो गए. अब you can say the government documents were not, you can say, authentic. It was due to the fact because actually a Damocles sword was moving around company's neck. कंपनी के गले पर तलवार लटक रही थी. Because after this great revolt of 1857, it became almost clear for the British company, you know, अब the British government would not give us another chance. And the British government would abolish my rule in India. So the basic objective of the British company was undermine the significance of this revolt. So consciously it projected itself either as a Sipahi mutiny or a product of Muslim conspiracy. कंपनी के गले पर तलवार लटक रही थी तो उसने सोचा कि सबसे अच्छा उपाय यही है सरकार को भ्रम में डालने का कि कहेंगे देखिए भैया हमारी नीति में, हमारी पॉलिसी में कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं था, थोड़ी बहुत कुछ सैनिक गलतियां हुई जिसके कारण कुछ सैनिकों ने रिवोल्ट किया, विच वी हैव वेरी, यू कैन से इजीली वी हैव सप्रेस द रिवोल्ट, नो प्रॉब्लम एट ऑल. और दूसरा ये कहें कि भाई ये जो मुस्लिम लोग हैं या मुस्लिम एलिट्स हैं उन्होंने अपना पावर लूज कर दिया ब्रिटिश के हाथों, तो उनके मन में कहीं ना कहीं एक मलाल था, उन्हीं लोगों ने हिंदुओं को भी भड़काया. तो बोथ ऑफ द स्टेटमेंट आर क्वाइट रॉन्ग, quite baseless, you can say. As for the Sipahi mutiny, you can say why it should not be, I have just given in my study material, why should it not be characterized as the Sipahi mutiny. It should not be characterized as the Sipahi mutiny due to following facts and following causes. First of all, the participants in the mutiny, great mutiny, didn't belong to the military stock only. They came from the different quarters, the different social groups. For example, you can say nobles, landlords, peasants, artisans, even, you know, tribals, workers. So all participated in the movement. So they were not simply soldiers, first one. Second one, if whenever revolt occurred, मतलब इसमें केवल सैनिक नहीं थे, सैनिक के साथ एक बड़ी संख्या असैनिकों की थी. And the second one that कि you are just going to observe the different military barracks. मैंने सैनिक शिविर को देखोगे तो when the military barrack revolted, every military barrack was given support by the hundreds of villages nearby region. तो ये मिलिट्री बैरक को सैकड़ों गांव का समर्थन होता था. And third one factor was you are talking about the Sipahi or you can say soldier. So that was not actually singly a soldier. They were two in one. Two in one means they were coming from the peasant family. So they reflected a common discontentment of peasant as well. Bipan Chandra, a historian, has even made a statement. He was a peasant in a uniform. वो वर्दी में किसान थे और किसानों की वेदना को व्यक्त करते थे. तो दिस इज नॉट अ सिपाही म्यूटिनी एज द मैटर ऑफ मुस्लिम कॉन्स्पिरेसी और प्रोडक्ट ऑफ मुस्लिम कॉन्स्पिरेसी, यू नो. So here I have to inform you. Just 1 minute. Just 1 minute. We are talking about the Muslim conspiracy. So here I have to inform you, a large number of participants were Hindus, and Bahadur Shah Zafar, he was simply the symbol of unity. That's why he was projected consciously by all the people, all groups of all the social groups, because after all he was bearing the legacy of the Mughal Empire, and you can say the Mughal Emperor. Otherwise, there is no question of Muslim conspiracy. So now the question arises, even Asutosh just asked me the question, then how have you to characterize this great revolt of 1857? So for your kind information I am making you, so as most of the British, you can say, scholars who was writing over the great revolt, so they depended over the government archives. So many of them just declared them as the Sipahi mutiny, even some Indian scholars, you know. But gradually up to 1960, there was a very different view. It was something more than Sipahi mutiny and something less than the, something less than the national movement. Then in 1957, its centenary was being celebrated. मैंने 1957 में इसकी शताब्दी वर्ष था. So it was Maulana Abul Kalam Azad was at that time the education minister, and he deputed some historian to write over this great revolt of 1857 as an official history. So this job was first given to R.C. Majumdar. But after some time, the differences cropped up between the government and R.C. Majumdar. So now this job was transferred to S.N. Sen. So if someone is going to ask you who was the official historian on the great revolt of 1857, so here you have to give the name of S.N. Sen. So he was the historian. So S.N. Sen just composed the text 1857. But R.C. Majumdar independently wrote a text, that is the Sipahi mutiny. And then Shashi Bhushan Chaudhary was another scholar, so he just wrote another third text, that is called, he also just composed some text, this Shashi Bhushan Chaudhary. And then fourth is P.C. Joshi. He was a Marxist historian, he also composed a text. So all of them actually, R.C. Majumdar declared it was neither first nor national, nor it was neither first not national, nor war of independence. And he told that it is a Sipahi mutiny. S.N. Sen told that it started by Sipahi, but even civilians joined it. But even he didn't characterize it as the war of independence or whatever, maybe he rejected it. Shashi Bhushan Chaudhary tried to establish that it was, mixture, or it was a mixture, मतलब mixture of the Sipahi and the civilians. मतलब इसमें कि जो सिपाही है और जो सिविल है लोग हैं, जो नागरिक हैं, इन दोनों का ये मिश्रण था. And P.C. Joshi was a Marxist historian. Even Karl Marx has earlier characterized it as the national movement. So P.C. Joshi also tried to establish that. Actually, Karl Marx has given the statement of the Great Revolt of 1857, whom John Bull, he consciously uses the term John Bull for the British, whom John Bull prefers to call as the Sipahi mutiny. So that is not less than national war of independence. तो कार्ल मार्क्स ने इसको बहुत पहले नेशनल वॉर ऑफ इंडिपेंडेंस कह दिया था. तो पीसी जोशी जो मार्क्सियन थे, उन्होंने कहा इट वाज अ डेमोक्रेटिक अलायंस बिटवीन द पीजेंट्स एंड द वर्कर्स. तो सॉरी, पीजेंट्स एंड सिपाहीज, पीजेंट्स एंड सिपाही डेमोक्रेटिक अलायंस. तो मतलब यह सिपाही और किसान के बीच एक प्रजातांत्रिक गठबंधन था. But my students, I am recalling its 150th anniversary was being celebrated in 2007. A number of scholars from Badri Narayan to Pankaj Rag, they composed their text. The Irfan Habi also wrote over there. So now the historians came on the, you can say, conclusion that since the last up now 13, 14 or 1.5 decade, better it should be characterized as the first war of independence. Because as for the modern nationalism, so it was not the reflection of modern nationalism, because modern nationalism needs some support of modern ideology, but it was not enjoying the modern ideology. but at least it was the reflection of a wide extent, you can say, discontentment of the different classes of the people, and it was having the uncommon expensive geographical reach. अब जो है धीरे धीरे ये बात स्टूडेंट्स में आने लगी है कि भाई देखिए अब क्या पिछले 13-14 ईयर से इसको फर्स्ट वॉर ऑफ, भले ही हम इसको नेशनल मॉडर्न नेशनलिज्म का रिफ्लेक्शन ना माने, लेकिन इसको हम भारत का पहला स्वतंत्रता संग्राम मान ले, ये बात आने लगी है। अब व्हाई? तो देयर वर द न्यू सोर्सेस। व्हाट वर द न्यू सोर्सेस? तो उर्दू लिटरेचर, फॉर एग्जांपल फ्रॉम लखनऊ देयर वाज द पब्लिकेशन ऑफ उर्दू अखबार, फ्रॉम दिल्ली देयर वाज द पब्लिकेशन ऑफ तिलिज्म, देन भोजपुरी लोक साहित्य, भोजपुरी folk literature, you can say Bhojpuri folk literature also. So they were reflecting the feelings of the common people, and they were the alternative source of study material. My students, you are making a study of history. So I am just trying to inform you, in history source material is very important. From which source you are getting support, and whether the source is authentic or not authentic. So this source was authentic because this was the reflection of the will of the common people. तो अब तर्क क्या दिया गया? जैसे अभी some of Gaurav have asked me the question कि sir in South India remain to be quiet. No, it is wrong now. Now it is believed that first of all there was the wide extent participation of the different social classes. Sipahis, 1,20,000 soldiers from Bengal army. They were just, you can say, directing their guns against their own master. And it was really the largest Sipahi revolt in the world, undoubtedly, against any colonial government. कहीं भी 1,20,000 सोल्जर्स किसी भी सरकार के अगेंस्ट में, किसी भी औपनिवेशिक सरकार के अगेंस्ट में किसी कंट्री में खड़ी नहीं हुई थी जो इंडिया में हुई. दिस इज वन थिंग. सेकेंड वन थिंग वॉज दैट कि whenever you are just going to discuss this thing, you will just come to realize कि nobles, soldiers, apart from soldiers, nobles, kings, then peasants, then tribals. Tribals means कि छोटा नागपुर, even some tribals participated, then workers participated, and surprisingly you can say even women participated. Not to speak of simply elite women. Elite women, you can say कि the Begum of Bahadur Shah Zafar, the Mughal emperor, Jinat Mahal, Lakshmi Bai, Hazrat Begum Mahal from Lucknow. They were the elite women. They are clearly visible. But Lata Singh is another historian, and you can say Charu Gupta. So they did the new sorts of research, and they came to the conclusion that even so-called lower caste women enthusiastically participated. For example, Mahabir Bai, Avanti Bai, Jhalkari Bai, they also participated. And there was, you can say, Kotejan means Tawayaf, that is in Kanpur. So her Kotha was the meeting place for his customers. So even that was the venue of, you can say, meeting place. That was the meeting place and venue for the rebels. They were chalking out the plan there. In this, even women participated in the movement. So there was the wider participation. Third one, now on the basis of new research, it has amply proved its spread didn't remain confined to northern India and central India. It spread to Madras region, Karnataka region, Malawadi, even Malawadi region, Pune and Kolhapur region in Maharashtra. And above all, you can say, once some leader was making an appeal to the region, this was making the cross region appeal. मतलब किसी एक क्षेत्र में नेता अगर कुछ बोलता था तो दूसरे क्षेत्र के लोग उसको फॉलो करने लगते थे. So event in one region was influencing the course of events in another region. An appeal from one leader was going to make an appeal to the people in other regions. So that's why now it is. And last but not the least, in Bhojpuri folk literature, even there is the reflection of popular will. क्योंकि folk literature जो होता है, लोक साहित्य होता है, उसमें लोगों की आकांक्षा व्यक्त होती है. और भोजपुरी लोक साहित्य में आपको मैटर में मिला होगा, शायद आप लोगों ने नहीं समझा होगा, अब छोड़ के जा फिरंगी हमार देशवा, ओ foreigners, leave my country. This was the reflection of the common people's ambition. So my students, now you should come to the conclusion that at least it should be characterized as the first war of independence.